The moment those heavy boots clicked against my tile floor, I knew something was wrong. That sound didn't belong in a quiet suburban home, it belonged on a battlefield. My instincts kicked in before my brain caught up, and when I glanced at my wife, I saw the same realization in her eyes. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. Now, let me rewind. We'd only been in our new neighborhood a week when the first notice slipped under our door. HOA Regulation 8.4, unauthorized plant display. It was about a single lavender plant in a chipped terracotta pot by our porch. I laughed. Guess someone's allergic to purple, I told my wife Maya, a former Army Ranger turned Green Beret sniper. She didn't laugh back. She just said, they're testing boundaries. Our son Eli, 12 years old and deep in his video game world, muttered without looking up, as long as the Wi-Fi stays on, I don't care who's allergic. 2 days later, a second notice appeared. This one stapled to the fence with a grainy nighttime photo of the same lavender plant. I frowned. They're actually taking pictures now? Maya peeled it off the wood and studied the edges. Infrared exposure, taken after midnight. She pinned it on the fridge like evidence. That afternoon, Karen Holloway, the HOA Vice President, showed up unannounced. She was in her usual uniform, khaki skirt, pearls, and mirrored sunglasses that screamed authority she didn't have. Mr. Callahan, she began, your non-compliance is escalating. We'll have to enforce final review if this continues. Maya folded her arms, calm but firm. Let me know when your board sends someone taller than your clipboard. Karen froze for a split second before her fake smile returned. Defiance isn't wise. The board has ways to handle stubborn residents. Then she left, her heels cracking like gunfire on the walkway. I shut the door and exhaled. Did she just threaten us over a plant? Maya didn't answer. She was already checking the blinds. No, that was a warning shot. By nightfall, I understood what she meant. The streetlights outside went dim, one by one. The neighborhood went unnervingly still. Even the crickets stopped. Then, 3 silhouettes appeared at the edge of our lawn, each moving in sync, their flashlights sweeping across our yard like search beams. They didn't knock. They just lined up at our porch, boots planted, posture squared. Through the curtain, I saw their vests, black nylon with bold white letters, HOA Cop. No badges, no weapons, just intimidation. The one in the middle barked, this is a formal warning. Continued violations will trigger immediate compliance enforcement. Your family's cooperation is expected. Maya stepped forward, voice like ice. And who exactly authorized you to threaten homeowners? Orders from Vice President Holloway, he said. Next time, we won't be this polite. Eli's game controller slipped from his hands. Maya's eyes narrowed. Get off my property. They stared her down for a long, tense second, then turned and walked away without another word. As their boots faded down the street, I felt it. This wasn't over. It had just begun. The next afternoon came too bright, too normal. Birds were chirping. Kids on bikes zigzagged down the street. And yet, deep down, I knew the quiet wouldn't last. It didn't. At exactly 1:13 p.m., the same black SUV rolled to a stop at the edge of our driveway. The same 3 men climbed out, only this time they weren't pretending to be polite. Their vests still read HOA Cop, but the rifles hanging from their shoulders told a different story. Matte black, AK style. Unregistered for sure. Eli froze by the window. Maya's jaw clenched. They brought guns to a neighborhood, she whispered. I hit record on my phone. Buzz cut, the ringleader called out. You were warned, lady. Vice President Holloway doesn't like being ignored. Maya stepped onto the porch, unarmed but completely still, her posture flat calm. Then she should have sent real law enforcement, she said. Buzzcut sneered. This is law enforcement now. That's when the sprinklers burst to life, a sound that should have been harmless. But instead of water, a cloud of fine white chalk dust erupted, blinding and burning as it caught the afternoon light. It wasn't random. Maya had rigged it that morning, quietly rerouting a line to release powdered training chalk from her garage workbench. The men staggered back coughing, rifles jerking skyward. That was her moment. Maya didn't hesitate. She moved like she'd been waiting her whole life for this kind of chaos. She slid low under the drifting chalk haze, one arm sweeping upward to strike Buzzcut's rifle off balance. A twist, a pivot, and the weapon snapped from his grip. He went stumbling, eyes red. The second man swung wildly. Maya ducked under his line of fire, hooked his elbow, and wrenched. The rifle dropped with a dull thud. She slammed her forearm around his neck in a tight chokehold, using his own momentum to drag him to the ground without firing a shot. He gasped for air, hands flailing. The third man tried to raise his weapon, but by then, Maya had already closed the distance. One sharp knee to his ribs, one sweep to his legs, and the gun slid harmlessly into the grass. She pinned him face down, her boot pressing the receiver just far enough away that he couldn't reach it again. By the time the chalk settled, all 3 men were on the ground, coughing, stunned, and disarmed. Maya tied their wrists with zip cords she kept on her belt, checked each rifle's chamber, and muttered, "Unregistered. Figures." Then she pulled out her phone and dialed. 911, what's your emergency? This is Maya Harlow, she said, calm but firm. 3 armed suspects impersonating law enforcement have been detained on my property. Weapons secured. Send county deputies. When the real deputies arrived 10 minutes later, they stepped out carefully until Maya raised her hand, palm open, and produced a green identification badge clipped to her waistband. Special Forces, Green Beret, she said evenly. All 3 are alive, weapons are safe. The deputies exchanged looks. Their posture shifted instantly, from suspicion to respect. One of them, older, took the rifles gently and checked the serials. These are ghost guns, he muttered. Unregistered. His partner added, and those vests? Impersonating federal officers. They're done. The lead deputy turned to Maya. You handled this right, ma'am. You probably saved lives. She nodded once. Make sure this footage reaches the bureau. The woman behind this calls herself Karen Holloway, Vice President of the Oak Ridge HOA. As the deputies loaded the men into patrol cars, neighbors peeked out from behind fences, phones recording. The chalk dust still floated like smoke after a battle. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe because the story is only going to get better. A few hours later, our driveway was taped off like a crime scene. Deputies came and went, cataloging evidence: 3 rifles, 3 fake badges, and 3 broken egos lying face down in the dirt of their own arrogance. By noon, the sheriff's office released a statement. All suspects were cooperating. Maya and I stood outside as a detective approached, flipping through a notepad. They're talking, he said. Turns out your neighbor, Karen Holloway, wasn't just behind the orders. She financed the whole thing. Maya folded her arms. Where'd they get the weapons? The detective exhaled, rubbing his temples. An unlicensed machinist out of Milford, Karen's nephew. He built the rifles from polymer kits, no serials, no records. She paid him with HOA funds disguised as security improvements. Your sprinkler trick probably saved a few lives. By sunset, the full confession aired on local news. The 3 men, all from a nearby security company Karen had secretly contracted, admitted she offered them $5,000 each to remove us from the property. She told them we were a threat to community safety because Maya was military trained and refused to pay bogus HOA fines. That lie cost her everything. 2 days later, deputies arrested Karen at the Oak Ridge HOA clubhouse. She was still wearing her pearl necklace and that smug grin until the cameras came out. The moment cuffs clicked around her wrists, her tone flipped from confident to desperate. It was a misunderstanding. I was protecting the neighborhood, she cried as agents carried out boxes of forged documents behind her. The county prosecutor didn't buy it. Karen was charged with fraud, conspiracy, impersonation of law enforcement, and misuse of HOA funds. Her bail was set at $250,000, and when the financial records came out, the court added $410,000 in restitution fines for every resident she'd overcharged across the years. The 3 fake HOA cops faced 10 years each for armed impersonation and illegal weapons possession. They took plea deals, 5 years in state prison, and permanent bans from working in private security. When the verdict came down, the entire street gathered outside the courthouse steps. News crews rolled, reporters shouting questions. But no one spoke louder than the residents of Oak Ridge Meadows themselves. That night, they held an emergency meeting and voted, 100% unanimous, to dissolve the HOA forever. By morning, the HOA signs were gone. The enforcement office was stripped bare. Every homeowner received refund checks funded by the seizure of Karen's personal assets, her car, her savings, even her designer jewelry. Maya and I sat quietly on the porch, watching the sunrise over a street finally free from fear. Eli looked up at her. So it's over? Maya nodded. Completely. No more fake cops, no more fines, no more HOA. For the first time in months, she smiled, a small, real one. Justice finally did its job, and for once, it truly had. The end.